What the hell is going on? First, Phil says some stupid shit, and now Sky? This isn't hard. What are these guys finding? The first Daily Mail article they can find and then basing their entire arguments off that single data point? They must be, because any amount of thought would disprove this. Fucking hell, man, all I wanted to do was work on Ruby this weekend, or maybe Slam Dunk. Why am I talking about this stupid shit again? And it's nearly the same thing. At the very least, unlike Phil, Sky seems to be simply stupid rather than intellectually dishonest, but it's all the same to me because spreading misinformation is extremely harmful and it's some shit I do not tolerate. Now, to summarize his video, outside of just being wrong, he's saying YouTube is not the one to blame, but these corporations filing the claims that are at fault. Which would at the very least be a good point to bring up, except you're forgetting one very important factor. This specific shit is only a problem for YouTube. Most of these content creators have their own websites where they host the same exact videos, and not one of those have ever had a false DMCA claim to take one of those videos down because they would get sued and extremely fast, and they would lose. Now, why they would lose and why they don't file these claims is a completely different story we'll be getting into in just a little bit. But for now, know that all, and I do mean all of the evidence is pointing at YouTube being the culprit, and there is no arguing this. So the very title is misleading, and it's just the start of the problems in Sky's video.
I guess I was just genuinely afraid that I'd be too ignorant to make a response. But I did my research.
So who wants to bet by the end of this video I will prove that Sky has in fact not done his research? Yeah, that's a bet we all lose because even winning that bet will still cost us some money, but it's still a bet and I'm still offering.
The first knee-jerk reaction that I see a lot of people doing is a big middle finger to YouTube, right? And I totally see where you're coming from. It's a lot easier to just point at YouTube and say, hey, that's the problem.
Now I get what you're trying to say, but what if, and this is just a what if, but what if YouTube was the actual problem and all of our aggression was justly pointed at YouTube? Well then all, and I do mean all of your points are incorrect, and what you're about to say is very, very misguided or extraordinarily stupid. Alright, so YouTube doesn't care. It's a corporation. No corporation ever cared about anything ever because it's a corporation. If you knew anything about business law or the very nature of corporations, you'd know this to be true. Legally, they are required to not care about anything other than making money, and no amount of your mindless platitudes about how a single person in an organization cares will ever change that. Yeah, it works, but the fundamental understanding of the current YouTube situation is completely ignored. So he says this.
Alright, let's pretend there's person A and person B. Person A accuses B of murder. The police then arrest B. B didn't murder anyone, yet still that person got arrested by the cops. So should B be mad at the cop? No, B should be mad at A.
Now, don't let me jump the gun here, but what if? And again, this is just a what if. What if that cop incentivizes person A to claim that person B killed a person, and then he's arrested by the cop? If that were the case and is completely hypothetical and definitely not a reflection of what is actually happening in this whole fair use thing, would it still be wrong to blame the cop? Now, there is still an ethical debate to be had about that, but that's the real analogy, and that is what really happened. And if you don't believe me that is what's actually happening, here you go.
One reason I think YouTube may have some liability for not taking steps to protect content creators who engage in fair use here on YouTube is because there's actually an easy technical solution that would protect fair use in the Content ID program. And this was suggested many years ago by a coalition of free speech groups, including the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the ACLU, where they said that filtering technology like Content ID that takes down videos or blocks videos or affects videos without a human being involved should have 3 requirements. And the first of those requirements is that the video track in the reference file matches the video track in the claimed file. The second is that the audio track in the reference file matches the audio track in the claimed file. And then the most important requirement is that almost the entirety of the claimed file is made up of the copyright owner's reference file, this 90% ratio test. And what's really important about these fair use principles suggested by these free speech organizations is it not only comes from them, but it was actually cited favorably by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in that Lenz versus Universal decision last September. In that Ninth Circuit opinion, the court actually cited these 3 requirements and said they may be a sufficient consideration of fair use. So that means they may not even be sufficient consideration of fair use, but YouTube could easily adopt this 90% ratio test, making sure that almost the whole reference file matches almost the whole claim file, and that would solve a lot of the fair use problems, especially because YouTube could so easily make this change. It's already a feature in the Content ID program. Right now, the copyright owners can decide whether they want to set their Content ID software to claim videos that have 90% of the file, 80%, 70%, but YouTube shouldn't leave it up to the copyright owners. YouTube should say that if Content ID is going to affect a video claim, that it has to have this 90% ratio test, because that's important for protecting fair use. And YouTube has said it is committed to protecting fair use, and I think we really need to put pressure on YouTube now to enforce that commitment.
And you don't have to take his word for it, look it up yourself. Now, if you're going to tell me that YouTube's setting up a system that's supposed to prevent copyright infringement and then protect fair use, and then gives the ability to regulate exactly how that system works to the people who are interested in preventing copyright infringement is a good thing, maybe you might have a conflict of interest. And I want to bring up a point that I think most people might be ignoring because everyone's talking about changing copyright. How often does the system actually prevent copyright infringement? Look up any song and there are dozens of that song, and almost all of them are uploaded by people that do not have any right to it. Now, maybe they might have monetized those videos, but it still takes views away from the original, and it's still a massive problem. And since I couldn't find any hard numbers for this, it's basically just a guess, but I will make the claim that a majority of third-party content IDs and DMCA takedowns are in fact illegitimate, and that's the real problem here. Okay, skipping past a bunch of stuff because it's just reaffirming the same incorrect points about how YouTube is not at fault, we hit this.
I just feel like we're pointing the right fingers at the wrong people. And yes, while YouTube looks guilty, it's just a law that's being exploited. It's just a law that's being exploited.
It's just a law that's being exploited.
Why? No, why is this so common? The only thing I can think to say to this statement is Sky and Sexy Phil and anyone else saying this is simply retarded. This is so stupid and so automatically invalidated that attempting to intellectually argue this point only proves that you're an idiot. And guess what? I'm an idiot. So going back to...
But I did my research.
You do know that reading the fucking law you're currently discussing is the first fucking step in researching, you lazy twat. Oh, and by the way, it's 18 pages. It's not that long. So again, for the 15th time, where, oh where is any of the specific shit that YouTube is doing in the DMCA? I don't see it here. I don't see it there. Oh wait, there it is. This is the most frustrating thing about these videos because it's not that hard to figure out. Hit Control F or whatever Mac users hit and try to find the word automated in that document if you're too lazy to read it. Almost all of the annoying shit that we have to deal with all of the time because of YouTube is nowhere to be seen in this document. But even then, that is completely retarded to even think about because there are other video sharing sites other than YouTube. I know they're a lot less popular, so you might not ever go to them, or you might not even know about some of them, but you must be aware that something exists, and guess who doesn't have the same problems? But then again, who is the other video sharing site that is more popular than YouTube, and is also regulated by the DMCA because the DMCA wasn't just written to specifically govern YouTube back when YouTube was created in the good old 1988? That's right, Facebook. Both companies share a lot of videos, both companies are equally regulated underneath the DMCA, and let's see how they work. One ignores the DMCA and copyright infringement is expected at this point, but none of its uploaders are ever bothered. And YouTube also ignores the DMCA by giving all regulatory power to massive corporations, and the average content creator generally has to deal with at least one problem from a false DMCA claim every year, and that's if they're extremely lucky. The DMCA is not a factor in all of this, and you stupid fucks need to learn this before we can move on. All it says is that there needs to be a system to remove actual copyright infringing material and have the ability to repeal a false claim. There is nothing anywhere about the arbitrary waiting time, or that the videos immediately have to go down, or anything else that amounts to the guilty until proven innocent attitude that YouTube has and fosters.
The change doesn't happen overnight, and I'd be hard-pressed to believe that YouTube is just like, yeah, f*** everyone.
See, the funny thing about that statement is that this is like the 4th or 5th wave of content ID controversy since Google acquired YouTube. This is not a new problem. The only reason we are talking about this now is that Blip died, which forced Nostalgia Critic to rely more on YouTube, and then he got fucked over by the system. This has been a constant problem for the last 2.5 years for a lot of people after the last significant change, and to have someone claim that 2.5 years is far too fast for a change to be effected just proves how they are so woefully uninformed on the matter.
Wrongfully. That is something he can sue for. He should sue for it. Honestly, I think one of the best solutions is to crowdfund an expensive ass lawyer, sue that bitch, sue the MCN or whomever claimed or striked the video.
Okay, so this is going to be a long one because we have to discuss why these false DMCA claims are completely legal and why suing would be extremely pointless, which you should not have to be told about that last part. So first things first, YouTube is a company. Now you might say to yourself, but you're ignoring the fact that it's a company and that changes a lot. Your ability to upload videos and make money off them is a privilege and not a right. YouTube owes you nothing in that regard, and unless stated otherwise in the contract you sign with them, which if I have learned anything in all my years is that there's always something waiving away all liabilities in every single contract, you too have followed the rules that govern YouTube. Meaning, if you do have some sort of out, you still have signed a contract that said you agreed to all of this stupid crap just like the rest of us. And I'm not sure if you are aware or not, but contracts are very important in the court of law. So right there's a potential stopping point for this lawsuit. So we have every party involved agreeing to the exact same rules, we have YouTube being a company meaning we have no expectation to our First Amendment rights, and YouTube has every right to run its company how it wants to and can remove any video it seems fit whenever it wants to because, again, it's a business. And I know that sounds awful, and it is, but it's just the state of things, and that's the very reason this doesn't happen to Channel Awesome or to YourMovieSucks.org's own websites because that would be highly illegal and they would easily win any lawsuit. Okay, so you have no legal standing in this lawsuit, but you still want to sue, which just means we're off to a bad start. But hey, it's America. So we're going to take them to civil court for the damages, which I will overestimate at around $800,000. So we beg all of our fans together, and we pull through against all odds, and we get a staggering $20 million. You might think that's ridiculous, but just you wait. So now, who do we sue? Nearly every company has hit nearly everybody, but let's just go with Sony because why not? So their net income in 2013 was $360 million. Yeah, it's a little tight, but we're still bringing the heat with that staggering $20 million, so it's all good. But then again, we just can't sue Sony because Sony's not the only one, so we're going to have to sue everyone. So go ahead and take that $36 million and times it by 6 because we're basically going after the big 6. So yeah, $2 billion a year in net income compared to a single dosage of $20 million, but whatever, it's still strong. So if we're not laughed out of court right away, this will last a very long time, at least 2 years. But in that time period, every single content creator involved will not be able to publish anything with any footage in it owned by any of the big 6, who, by the way, control nearly 90% of the world's media. And this is because during the civil trial, all the cases have to be totaled before we even begin to see the end of this mess, and the judge will demand that nothing new be published, so anyone caught doing so will be arrested for contempt of court, meaning we have just killed the careers of everyone involved because they will not be able to produce any more of the content that has made them popular for 2 years. And assuming everything goes better than expected, we finally settle for $500,000, and we all cheer for the great victory. And everything turns out just like that Canada Strike episode of South Park because 10,000 people will share that money, which means those 2 years without work was well worth the $50 everyone got. Do you see in how many ways this can fail and how stupid it is to think that any of these companies have any blame in this matter? YouTube allows this, and you can't even sue YouTube because you waived that right away a long time ago.
Another thing is, calling out the CEO of YouTube, Susan, was just not the right move. She's not dumb. She's not ignoring us. She's the CEO of YouTube.
She's not dumb. She's not ignoring us. She's the CEO of YouTube. That was the weakest argument I have ever heard that was still trying to be an argument.
Here's an example. Let's Plays haven't really been decided if we can use them commercially. Nintendo controls who can and can't do a Let's Play, and a lot of other companies just let it rock.
I really like that because it's something I've already debunked a while ago. Nintendo has no power and they know it. All they have done is bully people with the YouTube system in order to create their pseudo-network. The reason people like Game Grumps and several high-profile people can play Nintendo games without being a part of Nintendo's network is because they have their own network backing them, and that mitigates a shit ton of YouTube copyright bullshit. If you were to repeal a strike from Nintendo, nothing will happen. And the reason nothing will happen is because if anyone legitimately believed their copyright was infringed by Let's Plays, this shit would have been in court a long time ago. Thousands of hours of Let's Plays are uploaded every day to YouTube, and you're telling me over the last 5 years, Nintendo hasn't yet took a single case to court? You're taking the piss out of me, right? No, Let's Plays are fair use for several different reasons, but the fact that no one has taken anyone to court over this is probably the best evidence for this entire case. This really deserves a much longer video where I really delve into it, but I just don't want to spend my entire weekend working on this dumb shit. If people are so stupid that they're going to listen to the first person they hear from, or just get sources that back up their own opinion that they already had, then there's nothing I can do. No one is going to watch Sky's video and then come to my video and go, I guess this guy's right, because they are already so misinformed that there is no helping it. So what the fuck do you want me to do about that? I try, and I will keep trying, but I'm smart enough to know that several million people who have already seen Sky's and Sexy Phil's videos are no match for the 40 people who will watch this and who probably already know all about this and are just annoyed the fact that I just yelled at them for 10 minutes. So if you're one of those people, I'm very sorry about that, but whatever, we're done. Let's just hope no one uploads another video so I can at least do some work this weekend.